Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Frederique Constant Highlife Automatic COSC. This watch is available at your local jeweller or online from Weir & Sons Dublin for €1,995. The Highlife Automatic COSC is available in a plethora of colour options. Of the colour options, I think this British Racing Green version is the best looking. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a watch box which is housed inside this outer cardboard box. On the lid to the outer box we have the brand emblem, Frederique Constant logo, Geneva, because they're based in Geneva in Switzerland, and the brand motto, Live Your Passion. So one removes the cardboard lid to the outer box, pulls down the flap, and I'll take out the watch box and show it to you. Good attention to detail and good presentation, because in the base of the outer cardboard box we have a cutout which houses the items I'll show you. So the watch box is made from plastic which is coated with vinyl or PU leather, and the vinyl or PU leather has a grain finish rather like genuine leather, nice dark green tone to it, flawless stitching around the perimeter, hinge lid which is spring loaded, and it's very nicely finished on every side as you can see, and I like the contrasting stitching around the perimeter of the base and also the hinge lid. Hinge lid is spring loaded, so it snaps shut with a nice positive click and also opens with a heavy spring loaded action, which is good. The interior is upholstered with a contrasting white vinyl to a good standard, and the base is also fully upholstered with white vinyl. Very aesthetically pleasing. This is an example to other mid-tier Swiss brands of how to get presentation correct. Frederique Constant deserve credit here because they could have used the less expensive default option of a vinyl or PU leather watch roll, or alternatively a cardboard box, but this plastic box which has a spring-loaded hinge lid, and it's very nicely finished in vinyl and PU leather on the exterior, and the interior is also very nicely upholstered with contrasting white vinyl. So at the left-hand side we have a cutout which houses a padded pillow cushion. The watch sits upon the padded pillow cushion, and again it's very nicely upholstered with white vinyl. It's a snug fit in the cutout, so it does a good job of protecting the watch in chipping. On the right hand portion we have two pairs of elasticated straps, and they do a good job of securing the FKM floor rubber strap, which I'll take out and show you. So as an alternative to the H-link bracelet which comes fitted to the head of the piece, it also comes on this alternative green FKM floor rubber strap. So you'll know from my previous reviews that FKM floor rubber is a personal favourite of mine because it is a compromise, and it sits in between natural rubber and also NBR, nitrile butadiene rubber, and it sits above silicone rubber. So to clarify or to remind you, silicone rubber is very soft and supple. That's the benefit. The negative of silicone rubber is it's not as robust and durable long term with daily wear and tear. Natural rubber and NBR, nitrile butadiene rubber, are more harder and more robust than silicone rubber, and therefore they last a longer length of time, but the negative is NBR and natural rubber are not as soft and supple. In between the two we have FKM floor rubber, which this strap is made from, and it benefits from both. It's more soft and supple than natural rubber or NBR, nitrile butadiene rubber, but it is more robust and durable than silicone rubber, which is softer. So really it's the perfect balance between durability and also comfort level because it's very soft and supple. So this FKM floor rubber strap is textured on the top side, contrasting green stitching around the edges, and it also has stainless steel end links, as you can see, to fit into the integrated lugs on the head of the piece, and you can see there are two quick release levers on the spring bar, and this negates the need for a spring bar tool if you want to exchange the H-link bracelet fitted to the head of the piece with this FKM floor rubber strap. Two flathead screws which secure the solid stainless steel end link into the FKM floor rubber strap, and it's the correct taper, 24mm tapering down to 18 at the buckle and tang. Good attention to detail because you can see it's embossed with the Frederique Constant emblem, Frederique Constant logo and Geneva, and also has stitching on the top side and the underside. Two keepers which are FKM floor rubber, textured on the top side and to match the textured top finish, and they're smooth on the underside, so they're not fixed. Both keepers slide, they're correctly proportioned. It is soft and supple, so it does feel stiffer than silicone rubber, but it does feel more soft and supple than natural rubber or NBR, nitrile butadiene, as I've detailed. FKM really is a compromise between the two. In terms of how robust it is, how durable it really is more durable than silicone rubber. That's the benefit, but it is soft and supple rather like silicone, so excellent choice. Buckle and tang is solid 316L grade stainless steel, flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks, nice heavy gauge to it, and top left corner it's embossed with an engraved Frederique Constant emblem to a good standard, so good attention to detail. I'm pleased to see they haven't used a sterile unsigned buckle and tang at this price point. So let's look at the other end of it. Plenty of holes in it, so this will fit from a 6-inch up to a maximum 7.5-inch wrist size. Plenty of holes to allow for fine tuning the length. Again, stitching around the perimeter on the top side and the underside is good, no loose stitches. It's smooth on the underside and it has a recess or scallop, and that allows for air circulation, and it also allows for sweat and perspiration to wick away from the wrist, which is good when one is active or in warmer weather. It's very smooth and comfortable on the underside because it feels perfectly smooth. Top side has a nice textured finish which looks very aesthetically pleasing. And again, we have solid end links which are made from solid 316L grade stainless steel, mirror polish to the centre section, and quick release levers to the spring bars, so therefore one doesn't need a spring bar tool as I've detailed. 2 flathead screws securing the end link to the strap. 24 to 18 is the correct taper, and it's very soft and supple for an FKM floor rubber strap. It's not going to require any breaking in. Good alternative. And the green tone, which is British Racing Green, matches the dial, which is also British Racing Green. It's a sunburst dial and it has an embossed globe, which we'll look at in detail. Excellent quality, and I like that it has solid stainless steel end links, which are a perfect fit for the integrated lugs. So with regards to the items that come with the piece, this fold out leaflet serves 3 purposes. It is the owner's instruction manual, also the warranty card, and it also activates the warranty card. So I'll open it up and show you. So inside, first QR code, if you scan this with your Android or iPhone, this will download service centre location, so you can look up your nearest Frederique Constant service centre for servicing the piece. This one, if you scan it, it will download the owner's instruction manual with clear concise diagrams, instructions in English detailing the operation of the movement used, which is the Frederique Constant calibre FC-303 automatic, which is based upon the Salita calibre SW200-1 automatic respectively. On the reverse, we have another QR code you can scan. This downloads the international warranty, and I'm pleased to report that this Highlife automatic COSC is covered by a 2-year international warranty. Often mid-tier Swiss brands only cover their pieces with a 12-month international warranty. To get 2 years of international warranty is excellent, and Frederique Constant deserve full credit for that. So you can download the international warranty with this QR code, and finally, this QR code is for activating the warranty. So you scan this with your Android or iPhone, and that will automatically activate the warranty for 2 years from the date of purchase. This is good. It's innovative, and it's a credible alternative to the usual default option of a plastic warranty card and a printed booklet owner's instruction manual. We have all the QR codes on this fold-out leaflet for the owner's instruction manual, service centres, and on the reverse we have one for the warranty activation. And it's simple, but it works, and I think this is an example to other Swiss mid-tier brands of how to get it correct. It's simple, but it works very well. Now, one also gets this, which is the most important document. This is the COSC chronometer certificate. So, the Highlife Automatic is COSC, and what that means is this has been certified by COSC in Switzerland to be chronometer grade accurate. So, to clarify, COSC chronometer limits are -4 to +6, and what COSC do is they test the piece in a variety of positions, and then they observe the accuracy, the daily rates in seconds per day in each of the positions. So in this column we have the daily rates in seconds per day, and in this column we have the variations of the daily rates. Now, most importantly, on the reverse, the most important reading is the mean daily rate in the different positions, and you can see the mean daily rate in the different positions is -2.04 seconds per day. So to remind you, COSC chronometer limits are -4 to +6 seconds per day. This one has a mean daily rate in the different positions of -2.04 seconds, and obviously -2.04 is well within the stated COSC limits of -4 to +6 per day. Very accurate, -2 seconds per day. This certifies it, and as you can see, they observe it in a plethora of positions, and also they take the daily rates of each of those positions in seconds per day. So it's very rigorous, very robust testing of the calibre, and it's very good to see this at this price point, €1,995 in the mid-tier. To remind you, mid-tier is €500 to €5,000 price point respectively. Excellent to see a COSC certificate. And what that means is Frederique Constant are then allowed to print certified chronometer on the dial because it has been certified by COSC. And lastly, one also gets this plastic tag which has the full reference number of the piece, the barcode, the emblem, and on the reverse we have the reference number repeated and also the retail price, which is €1,995 respectively. So excellent presentation. I like the QR codes used on the fold out leaflet for the warranty and also activating the warranty and downloading the owner's instruction manual. And most of all, I like the COSC chronometer certificate, which backs up that this has been certified by COSC, and -2 seconds per day is excellent chronometer accuracy. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 39mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 42.9mm, a thickness of 10.6mm, and a lug width of 13.2mm. So to clarify, we have an integrated bracelet fitted to the integrated lugs. So the internal integrated lug width is 13.2mm, but however, the integrated bracelet is flared and tapered, so at its widest point at the integrated lugs, the bracelet is 24mm, and it tapers down to 17.8mm at the 2-button push butterfly clasp. So nice aggressive taper, 24mm at the lugs, aggressively tapering down to 17.8 at the 2-button push butterfly clasp. The butterfly clasp is embossed with the shield emblem, which is mirror polished to a flawless standard, and the 2-button push triggers on the flanks are correctly proportioned and mirror polished, heavily sprung loaded so they feel reliable and robust. So nice taper to the H-link bracelet, and I like the contrast of the rectangle mirror polished centre links in the H-link bracelet. They contrast well with the outer H-links, which are brushed satin finished to a flawless standard. Flawless mirror polishing to the flanks of the bracelet, which complements the centre links of the bracelet, and it's very well finished. We have a double dome sapphire crystal with AR coating on the underside, and the anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished baton handset and silver mirror polished stick indices. Baton hands are correctly proportioned. One can easily differentiate between the baton minute hand, which is longer, and the shorter baton hour hand. Needle second hand is also the correct length because it extends all the way to the white minute ticks on the chaptering. Quality of the printing on this dial is high tier levels. So to remind you, mid tier is €500 to €5,000 price point. This is a mid tier piece, but the dial execution in terms of the quality of the printing throughout is high tier level. This is the kind of dial execution one would expect to see on a high tier Swiss made piece costing €10,000 plus. White minute ticks are sharp and crisp. The Arabic numerals on the chaptering are also high definition and crisp. The font isn't too thick and blurry. Legibility is excellent. The white printing on the green sunburst British Racing green dial contrasts very well. The dial is very balanced. What I like about it is, unlike many mid-tier brands, they have a tendency to over-brand the dial with unnecessary text and specification. This has just the right amount of information. We have Frederique Constant Geneva 12, which is just right, and then we have certified chronometer automatic, and chronometer is in contrasting red, which adds interest to the British Racing green dial, contrasts very well. But the point is, they haven't over-branded it. For example, they haven't printed the water resistance rating, which is 100 metres. This is negligible information. It's unnecessary. This is a daily wear piece, not a dive piece. Therefore, we don't need to know it's 100 metres on the dial. Certified chronometer, yes, they are proud of that, and they are correct to print that on the dial because, of course, this is COSC chronometer certified, and they are right to be proud of that because it comes with a COSC certificate, and this gives it the edge over other mid-tier pieces, other Swiss-made pieces at this price point of €1,995 respectively. So it's good to see certified chronometer. Automatic is relevant because, of course, it's not quartz powered or a mechanical manual wind movement piece. The dial is my favourite aspect of the piece because it's sunburst British Racing green, so it changes colour. In low light conditions it's very dark green and it almost looks black, but then in direct light it changes to British Racing green, has a sunburst finish to it rather than just being glossy enamel finish or alternatively matte textured finish, so it's got a nice metallic sheen to it. Also, very nicely finished. It's got high definition embossing to the globe in the centre section. So, Frederique Constant deserve credit here because they could have just used a flat, smooth dial. For example, a glossy green enamel dial or a textured matte green British Racing green dial. But this is more interesting because we have this 3D effect to the globe, which is embossed, and the engraving into the dial of the globe is high definition. It's very sharp, catches the light, and I really like it. It adds interest, and it's a unique aspect of the Highlife automatic COSC. It has this globe embossed in the centre. It's correctly proportioned. Quality of the printing is excellent, and I like the contrast of the red chronometer at the 6 o'clock position. The execution of the applied indices is excellent. They are correctly proportioned and they're infilled with C3 superluminova to a good standard, but I like the mirror polishing. The mirror polishing to the indices matches the mirror polishing to the baton hands, and good orientation to the dial because we've got a framed silver framing around the date complication at 3 and double indices at 12 o'clock. So the orientation of the dial is good. One can immediately read the time easily. Clarity and legibility is good. I like the dial layout, and I like that it's not too busy and cluttered as I've detailed with too much information. 3 lines of text balances the 2 lines of text at 12 o'clock. It's excellent, and I'm pleased to see they didn't over-brand it with 100 meters, for example. Date complication is clearly legible. White data with black Arabic numerals. Both the single and the double Arabic numerals align correctly in the silver framed date window. They're not too far to the left or right. They're not too high or too low. There's no shadow, so the dial isn't too thick, it's not too deep, and the framing isn't too thick. Often with framed date windows like this, they cast a permanent shadow around the date window, and the problem is the legibility is diminished. It makes it difficult to read the dates. But this is good because proportion is good, but also the framing isn't too deep, the dial isn't too deep, and therefore the date wheel is close to the dial, close to the framing around it. So the good thing is you can read the dates without any black shadow around it. So they've got it correct. The proportions are good, the alignment is correct, the font is sharp and crisp. So let's look at the crown in detail. Solid 316L grade stainless steel crown, knurled finish to it versus being a scalloped or coin edge crown or gear tooth crown. The knurling is mirror polished to a flawless standard, no sharp edges, but it does feel grippy and tactile. Partially recessed into the right hand flank, so it's large enough to be grippy and tactile, but not oversized. It doesn't project too far proud of the right hand flank, so when you flex the wrist, the crown doesn't dig into the back of the hand, so they've got it correct. Large enough to be grippy and tactile and get good purchase with your index finger and thumb, but not too large to dig into the back of the hand. Mirror polished cap to it, and it's embossed with the Frederique constant shield emblem to a good standard. Quality of the mirror polishing is exceptional. So, as it's a push-pull crown versus a screw-down crown in the closed position, one can manually wind the Frederique constant caliber FC-303 automatic, which is based upon the Solita caliber SW200-1 automatic, to its maximum 38-hour power reserve. Feels smooth, doesn't feel rough or gritty, and as it's based upon the SW200-1, there's no discernible difference. It feels exactly the same. So to put it into perspective, when manually winding, it feels exactly the same as manually winding an ETA 2824-2, which it is a clone of, or alternatively a Soprod caliber P024, which is also a clone of the aforementioned. There's no discernible difference between the 3 calibers: ETA 2824-2, SW200-1 and P024 respectively. They all feel the same. Feels smooth to manually wind, and it's beneficial to have a push-pull crown for a daily wear piece because one doesn't need to unscrew a crown if you want to top up the power reserve if you wear it in rotation as part of a collection. So that's good. You can manually wind it in the closed position. 100 meters of hermetic seal is strong specification. Strictly speaking, it doesn't need to be 100 meters because we're not looking at a dive piece. 50 meters and a push-pull crown would have sufficed for a daily wear piece, but 100 is strong specification for a push-pull crown. Pulling it out to the first click is the quick set date complication. So if you look closely at the framed date window at 3 o'clock, when you rotate the knurled crown clockwise, it advances the quick set complication. Nice solid click. Now to put this into perspective, it feels lighter than the sensation of a quick set complication on an NH35A, which you will all be familiar with. That's got a heavy clicking sensation. You can hear the loud audible clicks and feel the heavy clicks. This feels lighter, feels more like a Miyota 9015, or alternatively an ETA 2824-2, which, as I've mentioned, it is a clone of. So the clicking is lighter, but it feels solid. It feels reliable and robust. I like the clicking sensation. It is audible. You can hear the clicks and you can also feel the clicks. What I like about it is the date window is large enough so that both the singles and the doubles are clearly legible. And as I've detailed, even though it has a silver frame around it, which is aesthetically pleasing, it doesn't cast a shadow around the single and the double Arabic numerals. Alignment is correct. They're not too far to the left or right, as I've detailed, and they're not too high or too low. The font is nice and sharp. It's fine, it's crisp, it's not too thick, and it's not too blurry. So legibility is excellent. Both the singles and the doubles are clearly legible. Pulling it out to the second click position, hacks the movement. And if you look at the needle's second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead. So therefore it's possible to set the time precisely to the second with a caliber FC-303. So we're now in the time setting position. Feels smooth both clockwise and anti-clockwise when you cycle through the 12 hours. Light resistance to the gearing. Feels smooth, and there's no discernible difference between this and the SW200-1. Really what the caliber FC-303 is it's an SW200-1 with Frederique constant adding their own gilt rotor to it, which is decorated and engraved, and I'll show that to you when we look at the case back. But in terms of how it feels, the caliber FC-303 feels exactly the same as the SW200-1, which is based upon. Minimal backplay in the gearing. When you rotate the baton minute hand, there's an almost immediate response. So pushing back in the crown has a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. The needle's second hand begins to sweep around the dial with a smooth, aesthetically pleasing 4 Hz sweep. This is something I like about the SW200-1. Unlike movements such as the NH35A, which run at 3 Hz, the second hand doesn't stutter or judder around the dial. It has that nice 4 Hz smooth sweep, which is more aesthetically pleasing than 3 Hz because it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour respectively. Nice smooth sweep to it. So push-pull crown works well. Manual winding feels smooth. Quick set date complication works well. Setting the time works well. Hacking works well. Crown feels good, looks good. Right, so let's look at the bracelet in detail. So, as I've detailed, integrated bracelet. So, the internal integrated lug width is 13.2. The taper on the bracelet is aggressive. It's 24mm at its widest point at the integrated lugs, and it aggressively tapers from 24 at the lugs down to 17.8 at the 2-button push butterfly clasp. So, nice aggressive taper balances the 39mm head of the piece. Now, thing to note is, this does have a short, compact lug-to-lug measurement to the integrated case. It's only 42.9. Now that is very short. You'll know from my previous reviews, 48mm lug-to-lug is the perfect sweet spot because 48 fits all wrist sizes, 6 to 7 and 7 to 8 inch wrists respectively. Now you might think that this compact case at 42.9, because it's well below the 48 sweet spot, is going to be too short for a larger wrist, but you would be mistaken because if you look at the H-Link integrated N-links, you can see they don't pivot as per female pivoted N-links. They feel stiff. Now this isn't a negative because actually what it does is it extends the effective lug-to-lug measurement of the head of the piece. Just bear with me, I'll get the camera to focus. So you can see the lug-to-lug is short on the integrated case, 42.9, but if I pull the bracelet in like this, you can see the H-Link N-links in the integrated bracelet, they do not pivot as per female pivoted N-link. So this extends the effective lug-to-lug of the case beyond its actual 42.9. So therefore it wears more like a 48 lug-to-lug with these H-Link N-links, which are integrated N-links, as you can see. So I'm not going to be critical of the lack of articulation because it's actually beneficial when one has a short case like this, a very compact 42.9 lug-to-lug. It's 5.1mm below the 48 sweet spot. That's what I'm clarifying. You can see the benefit because the bracelet lacks articulation, but it's actually necessary because this extends the effective lug-to-lug. Because you can see the end of the integrated lugs, they have this scallop or recess machined into them. Now it does look aesthetically pleasing, but of course that shortens the lug-to-lug even further. But with this H-Link N-link, which is integrated at 13.2 internally, you can see we now have this longer curvature to it. So it actually works very well, and I'll show you in the wrist shot the benefit. The fit of this is excellent despite the lack of pivoting as per a female pivoted N-link. So in the centre of the H-Link bracelet we have these rectangles which are mirror polished to a flawless standard, very aesthetically pleasing because the mirror polished rectangles in the centre complement the mirror polished flanks. What I like about it is we've got a nice taper in the thickness of the links in the bracelet. So at the integrated lug end the links are thick, but then they taper down in thickness down to the 2-button push butterfly clasp, which is good because we've got more meat on the bracelet at the integrated lugs, but then the thickness of the H-Link bracelet tapers down and that reduces the meat. So good thing about this piece is at 39 it is 148 grams, and you'll know from my previous reviews 150 and below is the sweet spot for a 39 or 40mm piece on a solid bracelet. So let's look at the clasp. Let's look at the bracelet in detail. So N-link doesn't articulate as per female pivoted N-links, but I'm not going to be critical of it. Nice tight fit to the integrated lugs. They don't feel sloppy. We don't have additional excess longitudinal, lateral, side or up and down play. And they have quick release levers if you want to exchange it for the F-Chem floor rubber strap, which I showed you. Beautiful luster to the outer links of the H-links in the bracelets. Nice fine grained satin finish. Absolutely gorgeous finishing. No sharp edge to the top edge or the low edge of the flanks, so it doesn't feel sharp, doesn't scratch the wrist, doesn't pull arm hairs, which is the benefit. Articulates freely. This is silky smooth. This is sublime articulation. Doesn't rattle. We're not looking at a sloppy H-link bracelet. This is refined. If I had to choose one word to describe this, it would be refinement. They've got the balance correct. It benefits from the use of screw pins in the bracelet versus... No, actually it's push pins. That's a pleasant surprise. I would expect this to be screw pins because it feels nice and tight. It doesn't feel sloppy. This is very unusual to see this kind of tight tolerances, interference, friction, fit on push pins. Normally one only gets this using 1.2mm screw pins, but they've got the balance perfected because this is silky smooth. This is one of the best articulating H-link bracelets I've experienced. And I will apply this especially to it using push pins. I really believe this was going to have 1.2mm screw pins because it feels nice and tight. It doesn't rattle, it's not sloppy, but yet it feels nice and smooth. So it doesn't feel stiff or kink, so it's not too tight, but doesn't feel sloppy. Let's check the other side of continuity. So again, integrated end links don't articulate, they don't pivot as per female put end links, which isn't a negative in this case because it's necessary to have that extension on the short compact case. So nice and tight. Doesn't have excess play. No sharp edge to the top edge or the low edge of the flanks, which is good. Beautiful luster to the outer H links. Flawless mirror polishing to the centre links. Flows beautifully. This is fantastic. Silky smooth. This is really refined. To put this into perspective, it articulates as smoothly as a Rolex Jubilee bracelet, alternatively Rolex Oyster bracelet, which are high tier pieces. This is the kind of execution in terms of build quality, quality control, materials and finishing and tolerances one expects with a high tier piece which is Swiss made at the €10,000+ price point. We're not looking at a high tier piece costing 10,000 here. We're looking at a mid tier piece costing 1,995. This is outstanding. And it's a pleasant surprise to see this kind of interference friction fit between the push pins going through the H-link bracelet, because I really expected it to be 1.2 screw pins, but they're not. It's actually push pins. Now subjectively one could be critical and say, well, at this price point it's a Swiss made mid-tier piece. At the €1,995 price point it should be 1.2mm screw pins. I would normally say that. I'd level criticism at Frederique Constant because normally I consider push pins in the mid-tier to be a production cost-cutting measure in order to maximise profit margin per piece. But they've done such a good job of the push pins in this H-link bracelet that I'm not going to be critical of it because it actually feels as refined in terms of build quality and quality control as a 1.2mm screw pin H-link bracelet. It just flows really smoothly. It's an absolute delight, because it doesn't feel stiff or kink, it feels balanced. It's got just the right amount of interference friction between the pins going through the H-links. And yet it doesn't rattle, it doesn't feel sloppy. This is fantastic. This is an example to other mid-tier Swiss brands of how to get an H-link bracelet correct. Build quality, quality control, finishing, it's sublime. So let's look at the 2-button push butterfly clasp in detail. So 2 mirror polished buttons or triggers on the flanks. I like the embossed Frederique Constant shield, which is mirror polished with a matte be blasted background to it, correctly proportioned. 2-button push triggers are heavily spring loaded, and this is fantastic. Beautiful pelage finishing on the internals, as you can see. 2-button push triggers are heavily sprung loaded, they feel reliable and robust, opens freely. It is handed, so the thing to note is you need to close the right hand portion first, snap shut with a nice positive click, and then the left hand portion overlaps it because the shield emblem overlaps into the recess or scallop, as you can see. So you have to close the right hand portion first. It's handed, but opens freely. Articulates very well. So flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks. No sharp edges to the top edge or the low edge of the flanks. The 4 internal corners have been deburred very well. No sharp corners. Beautiful mirror polishing, and I absolutely love the pelage finishing. It's very high definition pelage finishing. It adds interest. This is high tier level finishing on a mid-tier butterfly clasp. Let's check the hinge pins. Left hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Left hand inner hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Right hand inner hinge pin, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. Finally, right hand hinge pin, articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, doesn't have excess play. This is refined. Again, if I had to choose one word, it would be refinement. This is an example to other mid-tier Swiss brands of how to get a 2-button push butterfly clasp execution correct. Build quality, quality control, tolerances, materials, finishing, everything is stellar. Pelage finishing is fantastic. Mirror polishing is fantastic. Deburred and chamfered throughout on every facet. No sharp edges, no sharp corners. But what I like about it above all else is it doesn't rattle, it's not sloppy. We don't have excess play. Snap shut with a nice positive click. Left hand portion overlaps. Snap shut with a nice positive click. Opens freely. This is perfect. This is the perfect butterfly clasp. It's fantastic. Looks good, feels good, no sharp edges, works to a very good standard. This is high tier level. Now, subjectively, the only criticism I have of it, and I'll show you this in the wrist shot, the negative of this butterfly clasp, when I'll apply this to all 2-button push butterfly clasps respectively, there's no half links in the bracelet. So this would really benefit because we don't have a micro adjustment clasp. There's no way to get on the fly adjustment. We don't have a diver's extension link. And of course we don't have any glide lock style or ratcheting mechanism. So this is the negative, and it's always the negative of butterfly clasp. The benefit of having a half link on the 6 and the 12 o'clock side, either side of the butterfly clasp, is sometimes adding or subtracting one full link from an H-link bracelet doesn't give the desired fit. The bracelet feels slightly too tight or too loose, and in the absence of micro adjustment. But by having a half link on the 6 and the 12 o'clock side, this refines the fit. You can also centralise the butterfly clasp because, for example, if you need to remove a half link on either side, that will centralise the clasp. But the point is, adding or subtracting one full link from an H-link bracelet sometimes makes the bracelet slightly too tight or too loose. This would really benefit from a half link on the 6 side and a half link on the 12 side respectively. I'd like to see that updated. That would really enhance it. But in terms of execution, bracelet and clasp is fantastic. Right, so let's look at the case back. Screwed down exhibition case back, glazed with sapphire crystal. Now, strictly speaking, they could have used mineral crystal because one doesn't need sapphire crystal in an exhibition case back, unlike the front of the piece. The exhibition case back isn't an area that's prone to being scuffed and scratched as per the front with daily wear and tear. But sapphire crystal is strong specification. 100 metres is excellent hermetic seal, and strictly speaking, they could have used the cost cutting measure of a stainless steel case back, or alternatively glazed the exhibition case back with mineral crystal to cut production costs, therefore to maximise profit margin per piece. Mirror polishing to the circumference is excellent. The engraving is high definition. We have the reference number, serial number of the piece engraved around the circumference, and the outer portion of it is concentric CNC lathe tool machined, which refracts the light with beautiful satin finishing. Nice chamfers or bevels on the edge of the screwed down exhibition case back, no sharp edges whatsoever. The 4 flat head screws have been mirror polished to a flawless standard, and they're recessed enough, no sharp edges or tops to the flat head screws. Does a good job of displaying the Frederique constant caliber FC-303, which in reality is a Solita SW200-1, which is decorated with a gilt rotor. The gilt rotor has an aesthetically pleasing milled stripe centre section to it, rather like Côtes du Genève or Geneva stripes, and it's engraved with Frederique constant and also 26 jewels Swiss made. They deserve credit here because this is the standard grade of SW200-1. Although it is COSC chronometer certified, I want to clarify. There are 4 grades of SW200-1 which this is based upon. So we have standard grade, elaboré grade, chronometer grade, and then top grade. Top grade is the very best. Now, this is the standard grade of SW200-1, therefore the bridges to the movements are not decorated with pelage finishing and they're not decorated with blued screws. But however, although it is the standard grade versus the elaboré grade or the chronometer or top grade, which have decoration, they have pelage finishing and blued screws, we do have a decorated rotor with milled stripes which are like Côtes du Genève. This would be better, it would be more aesthetically pleasing if they used the elaboré, chronometer or top grade versions, because it would look more aesthetically pleasing to have pelage finishing on the bridges and of course blued screws. The standard grade is sterile, it's undecorated, and the bridges don't look aesthetically pleasing because they're just a matte stainless steel finish to them. They're just satin finished is what I'm talking about. They're not pelage finished. And to clarify, the pelage finishing on the butterfly clasp is gorgeous, and it would be nice if it had the same pelage finishing to the movement as per an elaborate or chronometer or top grade. But nonetheless, they've done a good job of the gilt rotor, adds interest to it, and I like it. And it's good to have an exhibition caseback displaying the calibre versus the production cost-cutting measure of a solid stainless steel caseback. The other thing I like about it is it's very low profile for a 100 metre water-resistant caseback. You can see it's not a deep bubble back caseback, and often with SW200-1 powered pieces, they have a bubble back caseback in order to provide adequate clearance around the rotor to prevent the rotor fouling the underside of the sapphire crystal or the stainless steel caseback. This is very flat. It's very low profile. Now the benefit of this is this piece is surprisingly low profile. It's only 10.6, even though it has a double dome sapphire crystal versus a flat sapphire crystal in the front. I would expect this to be 12mm thick. Bearing in mind it's not a quartz powered or mechanical manual wind movement piece. We're looking at an automatic with a rotor. So 12mm would be expected. 10.6 is very impressive. So they've done a good job of it. It's very flat and low profile. And also the comfort level and feel good factor enhanced because it's perfectly smooth. It's got a large portion to the stainless steel glazing. They've minimalised the stainless steel portion of the exhibition caseback. So the diameter of the sapphire crystal is large, fully displays the calibre, but most importantly it's nice and flat and smooth against the wrist. So feels very comfortable as a result. The integrated end links are very well executed. Flat head screws are recessed, they're very well finished, and also the two levers are very well finished. They've been deburred very well, so no sharp edges to the levers, and it's good to see quick release levers used because that negates the need for a spring bar tool. You can easily exchange the H-Link integrated bracelet for the FKM floor rubber strap, which is also integrated with solid end links as I've shown you, and easy to remove the H-Link bracelet and quick to fit the FKM floor rubber strap without a spring bar tool. That's good. Right, so I'll give you wrist shots and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet, and I'm pleased to report this easily fits my 8-inch wrist. I can actually slide an index finger beneath the bracelet and butterfly clasp at all times. This indicates this will fit up to a large 9-inch wrist size, so there are enough links in this to fit a large 9-inch wrist. To clarify, there are enough removable links on the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock side to size this down to a minimum 6-inch wrist size. With all the links removed on the 6 and the 12 side, 6 inches is the minimum and 9 inches is the absolute maximum, as you can see. Really the only negative to this 2-button push butterfly clasp is the lack of micro adjustment. That's just the way it is with butterfly clasp. I'm going to level criticism at all brands that use butterfly clasp that don't use a half link either side of it on the 6 and the 12 o'clock side. This really does need that enhancement because the problem is, for example, if one removes one full link from the 6 or the 12 o'clock side, now the clasp will always be off centre. It will be too far to the 6 or too far to the 12 side. It will never sit centrally on the wrist, and that's the negative. But if you have a half link on the 6 and a half link on the 12 side, you can remove a half link on either side and therefore keep the butterfly clasp bang on the centre of the wrist. Therefore the 2-button push triggers or buttons on the flanks, they will always be right on the centre of the wrist, and the emblem, the shield emblem, will also be bang on the centre, so it will look more aesthetically pleasing. I dislike when a clasp is too far to the left or the right on the wrist. I like it to be bang on the centre. The other benefit is you can get the perfect fit if you have a half link, as I've detailed, because adding or subtracting a half link gives the desired fit, it perfects it. And that's the other alternative to having a micro adjustment mechanism, such as a ratcheting clasp or a glide lock style mechanism. Butterfly clasps are appropriate for daily wear pieces like this. This does look very low profile, and what I like about it is the curvature. It's not a bulky butterfly clasp. The internals are low profile, curvature is good regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist. We don't have a large gap underneath it, and the 2-button push triggers on the flanks aren't too large. They don't stick out too proud from the left and the right hand flank. Curvature is good. Beautiful lustre to the left and the right hand portions, and I like the embossed Frederique constant shield. It's very well mirror polished, and the matte satin finish to the bead blasted background of the shield is very high level. This is very good finishing, and also proportions are good. I like the aggressive taper. 24 at its widest point, and it's got a very aggressive taper, immediately tapering from 24 aggressively down to 17.8. Now, normally I'd be critical of this because you know from my previous reviews, if this had a standard bracelet, such as an oyster-style bracelet, Jubilee-style bracelet, or beads of rice bracelet, I would like to see a perfection personified 20 to 16 taper, which is perfect for a 39 head of the piece. But this uses an integrated bracelet with integrated lugs, and therefore an aggressive taper is acceptable because you can see the aggressive taper, 24 down to 17.8, blends nicely into the aggressive taper on the case, because this case does have a very aggressive taper to it. It's 39 diameter at its widest point, but then it aggressively tapers down to 24 at the tips of the lugs. So it is necessary to have plenty of meat on the bracelet. If this had a 20 to 16 taper, the bracelet would look undersized because of the shape of the case. It's rather like a tonneau case shape. So, I like it. And visually it looks good because they've machined this scallop or this cutout or recess at the end of the lugs. And it deletes some of the meat, but also visually looks very aesthetically pleasing, adds interest. And I like the profiling, the way the rectangles reduce in width. You can see as one goes down the bracelet, they start off wider and then they gradually slim down, and that matches the aggressive taper. But also I like that the H-link bracelet is thick in terms of thickness at the H-link integrated lugs, and then it tapers down in thickness, so they reduce the meat both in thickness but also width. It's very well balanced. This is a very well executed H-link integrated bracelet. Wrist presence is good. 39 is good, and I say wrist presence is good for all wrist sizes, regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. 39 is the sweet spot. It's good for all wrist sizes. The thing I like about this piece above all else is how low profile it is, and as I've detailed, with an automatic I would expect this to be 12mm with an SW200-1, but it's not. This is 10.6. It's very low profile. Now, 10.6 is nothing unusual. It wouldn't be impressive if this were quartz powered or mechanical manual wind powered, but 10.6 for an SW200-1 with 100 meters and a double dome sapphire crystal and exhibition caseback, that does impress. Because usually with an exhibition caseback that adds some thickness, and also using a double dome sapphire crystal versus a flat sapphire crystal again adds 1.5mm to 2mm of thickness. But they've managed to refine this. The exhibition caseback is very flat. The dome is very slight, it almost looks flat. It's a very low dome to the double dome sapphire crystal, but it has a nice bevel on the edge of the double dome sapphire crystal which catches the light. It projects above the domed mirror polished stainless steel bezel. So proportions are good. Very low profile dome, doesn't add too much thickness. 10.6 is fantastic. Now you'll know from my previous reviews, 13mm and below is the sweet spots, because anything below 13 will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. So needless to say, at 10.6 it's well below the 13 sweet spot. It is 2.4mm below the 13 sweet spot. 10.6 is the kind of low profile lack of thickness I would expect with a quartz powered or mechanical manual wind powered piece, not an automatic with a rotor. It's fantastic. Nice curvature to the undercuts to the flanks, minimal gap beneath the tips of the integrated lugs, and although there's a lack of articulation as I've detailed, we don't have female pivoted end links here as per a Jubilee style or Oyster style bracelet, but it's not detrimental in this case because you can see, due to the compact, it's a very short case, 42.9. It's 5.1mm below the 48 sweet spot, but the point is, you can see the benefit. It's got a short case, but then what they've done is they've scalloped the end of the integrated case, and then they've added this H-link, but it actually works very well because the fit is very good. We don't have a large gap beneath the H-link end link, and we don't have a large gap beneath the tips of the integrated lugs. This is an example to other mid-tier Swiss brands of how to get an integrated head of the piece, an integrated H-link bracelet perfected. Curvature is fantastic. It doesn't feel stiff, although it doesn't articulate. We don't have a large gap, and the next link in the H-link bracelet does pivot very well, so it does close up the gap. It actually flows very nicely, both the taper but also the thickness. It's very well balanced. What I like about it is we get refinement with this piece. It doesn't feel like a low-tier Chinese integrated bracelet piece which has a thick slab of 316L grade stainless steel sitting on top of the wrist, and then we have a chunky bracelet with too much meat on it, and the bracelet is far too wide, far too thick, doesn't have enough curvature to it. This is fantastic. Feel good factor is 10 out of 10, comfort level is 10 out of 10. I really like the aggressive taper. 24 at its widest point, aggressively tapering down to 17.8. Bracelets and clasp feel balanced. They feel heavy enough. They've got enough heft at the butterfly clasp end. Doesn't feel too light. Taper feels good, looks good. I like the way it's thicker. The links are thicker at the integrated lugs, and then they taper down in thickness down to the butterfly clasp. It looks good. Mirror polished rectangles in the centre links look fantastic. They complement the mirror polished bezel and also the flanks. The H links, which have a beautiful lustre, match the top of the brushed satin finish case, which is longitudinal brushed satin finishing. It's just a fantastic looking piece from every angle. Comfort level is good. I like its low profile at 10.6. Now the thing I want you to be aware of, the lack of heft. 148 is excellent. 150 and below is the sweet spot, and this does have a long bracelet. It would fit up to a 9-inch wrist, as you can see. 148 is fantastic. So it doesn't feel heavy. It actually feels very comfortable on wrist. And I like the look of it and I like the feel of it. Low profile, lack of heft, fantastic taper on the bracelet. And the fit is really good for all wrist sizes. So I'm very pleasantly surprised by it. Right, so let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. So this uses C3 Super Luminova on the applied stick indices and the silver mirror polished handset, which are baton hands. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. Good colour tone match in daylight on the stick indices and the baton hands. They are both white. They don't look more cream or white on the dial or hands. And in the dark, we've got the same green tone to the C3, and we're clearly looking at 5 to 6 layers on the stick indices and 5 to 6 on the baton hands. Potency of the exciter is good. Camera is struggling to autofocus on it, and that's not down to a lack of layers. It's simply due to the plot, the area of the stick indices and the baton hands. One has to be magnanimous or realistic here, because we're not looking at a Submariner date dial layouts with wide indices and also Mercedes hands with a large area or a large plot for the 5 to 6 layers of C3 to be applied. Stick indices are very narrow and baton hands are very narrow. They're slender. They look aesthetically pleasing on a daily wear piece. We're not looking at a dive piece, but you can see 5 to 6 layers on the stick indices, 5 to 6 layers on the baton hands. And there's an even application, green tone matches. The hands don't look lighter or darker. Therefore, we're not looking at 3 to 4 layers on the hands versus 2 to 3 layers on the dial, for example. We've got 5 to 6 on the dial, 5 to 6 on the hands. C3 is a nice choice, and I would expect this to have BGW9 because it does have a British Racing green dial, and in order to have contrast, I would expect it to use blue Super Luminova, so BGW9. But C3 is aesthetically pleasing. It's one of my personal favourites. I like the green tone of it. You can see potency is good. So I like it. 5 to 6 layers. I'm pleased to see they haven't used the production cost cutting measure of using 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. And bearing in mind it uses baton hands and stick indices, I think this is good performance. Right, so let's discuss the movement use because it's my favourite aspect of the piece. Now, you'll know from my previous reviews, the SW200-1 is one of my personal favourite calibers. It's a reliable, well-proven workhorse Swiss caliber. Frederique Constant call it the caliber FC-303, but in reality it's just an SW200-1 with a Frederique Constant rotor added to it. To add some interest to it, they decorate the rotor, they engrave it, they machine it with milled stripes, which are Coats du Genève, and then they engrave it to sign it. So it does add some interest adding a gilt rotor rather than just using the sterile standard Solita rotor fitted to the SW200-1. But other than that, it's the same. Now it is regulated in 5 positions to chronometer accuracy, and of course it's COSC chronometer certified, and I showed you the chronometer certificate proving that it is -2 seconds per day. So it has 26 joules, it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz, has some hand winding and hacking which use for complications, and a quick set date complication which, as I've demonstrated, works well. Stated accuracy of chronometer grade SW200-1s is -4 to +6 seconds per day. Now, to clarify or to remind you, there are 4 grades of SW200-1: standard, elaborate, chronometer and top grade. This uses the standard grade of SW200-1, so don't be confused. Although it is COSC chronometer certified, this is not the chronometer grade of SW200-1. It's a standard grade which has been regulated in 5 positions to attain chronometer limits. COSC chronometer limits are -4 to +6. So we're not looking at a chronometer SW200-1 or a chronometer grade version, which has pelage finishing and blued screws. You can see there are no blued screws and there are no pelage finishing on the bridges. So this is standard grade. It's not elaborate grade, it's not chronometer grade, and it's not top grade. One could be negative about that and say subjectively, well, that's a production cost cutting measure, but one has to be realistic. This piece is made in Switzerland and it uses a Swiss made SW200-1. COSC chronometer certification also costs money per piece. It adds to the production cost per piece and thus reduces profit margin per piece for Frederique Constant. In order to make this piece viable to retail at €1,995 and make it in Switzerland versus making it in China, it has to use the standard grade. If they use the elaborate grade, the chronometer grade or top grade of SW200-1, of course that would increase the production costs per piece and therefore reduce the profit margin per piece. It wouldn't be viable to retail it at $1,995. Standard grade is acceptable when you COSC chronometer certify it. That's the point. So I think they've got the balance correct. They've used a standard grade versus elaborate chronometer or top grade, but they've added the benefit of it being COSC chronometer certified. So this one has been very well regulated in 5 positions. Its average variation in the positions is -2 per day. So -2 seconds per day is well within the COSC chronometer limits of -4 to +6. It's excellent accuracy. And I like it. I like that it's COSC chronometer certified, and I also like that it has certified chronometer on the dial. We've got chronometer in red. This adds interest to the dial, but they're right to be proud of it because, to clarify, other mid-tier Swiss brands, they are using the SW200-1. It's nothing unusual to see that at this price point in the mid-tier, between €500 and €5,000. But they're not coming with cost certificates. And the cost certification does add value to the piece. And it backs up the claim that this is a chronometer accurate piece. -2 seconds per day is chronometer accurate, but they've got the proof with this COSC chronometer certificate. So this is good. So, last I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch meets 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So, mid-tier piece, mid-tier is €500 to €5,000. This piece is €1,995. I'm going to declare it excellent quality and I'm going to declare the value as okay. So why do I say the value is okay? Why don't I say it's good or excellent at €1,995? There are no QC issues whatsoever. Build quality, quality control, materials and finishing are all stellar. I like everything about it, and I like the COSC chronometer certification, which, as I've detailed, adds value. This is a certified chronometer piece. Everything about it is excellent, but I think this faces some stiff competition in the mid-tier from other Swiss brands and Swiss micro brands also using the SW200-1. Now, they're not certifying it with COSC chronometer certification. Frederique Constant are. That does give Frederique Constant the edge with this Highlife automatic COSC. But however, I would like to see them reduce the price point from €1,995 lower, closer to the €1,500 price point, because that would make it more competitive and that would increase the value proposition, and therefore I would upgrade it from okay value to good or excellent value if this were €1,500. But at the price point of €1,995, I'm going to say it's excellent quality and the value is okay. The only thing I'd like to see changed, the only criticism I have subjectively, is I'd like to see the addition of a half link on the 6 and the 12 o'clock side. That would add to the correct fits, because as I've detailed, adding or subtracting one full link, sometimes it's difficult to get the correct fits with a lack of micro adjustment, but that's just the way it is with butterfly clasps, and I've applied the same criticism to all other brands that use butterfly clasps without half links. That's just the way it is. Other than that, there are no negatives. I like everything about it. Comfort level and feel good factor are fantastic, proportions are fantastic, and it looks good and feels good, and COSC chronometer certified, so outstanding piece. So I'm going to highly recommend it to your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Frederique Constant Highlife Automatic COSC. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.